The wind always called to Henry. It was a constant song against the windows of his lighthouse. For 30 years, he had lived here, on this rocky cliff. His world was made of stone steps, the great turning light, and the endless grey sea. He knew every crack in the walls. He knew every sound the old building made. His days were the same. Clean the lens. Wind the clockwork. Watch the water. He was good at his job. The ships were safe. But Henry was lonely. He had conversations with the seagulls. He told the clouds about his day. At night, he would sit in his chair by the small fire and read the same books again and again. He often thought about his life. Was this all there was? Was he just a keeper of light, fading away himself? He missed the sound of another human voice. He missed the warmth of a shared smile. One morning, after a wild storm, Henry put on his heavy coat and went outside. The air was clean and sharp. He walked along the shore, as he always did, looking for storm treasures. Pieces of wood. Strange shells. Today, something different caught his eye. Something glassy, half buried in the wet sand. It was a bottle. A simple, green glass bottle. And inside, there was a piece of paper. His heart beat a little faster. A message in a bottle. He had read about such things in stories. He picked it up. The glass was cold. He carefully pulled out the cork. It was tight. After a few tries, it came out with a soft pop. He rolled the paper out. The writing was careful, in blue ink. It was a child's writing. The message was short. It said, "To the finder of this bottle. I am lonely. My name is Leo. I live in the city, and I miss the sea. If you find this, please write back. Tell me about the waves." Henry stood there for a long time. The water washed over his boots, but he didn't move. Leo. A lonely child. Someone who missed the sea, while Henry had too much of it. He felt a connection, immediate and strong. This little piece of paper, this cry from far away, felt like the most important thing he had ever found. He took the bottle and the message back to the lighthouse. He placed it on his small table. All day, as he did his chores, he thought about Leo. What did he look like? What kind of city did he live in? Why was he lonely? That evening, Henry didn't read an old book. He found a clean sheet of paper and his best pen. He thought very hard about what to say. He wrote, "Dear Leo, my name is Henry. I found your bottle. I live in the lighthouse on Grey Rock. I am lonely too." He stopped. Was that too sad? He continued, "But the waves are not lonely. They are always talking. Today they are gentle. They sound like a whisper against the stones. Yesterday, after the storm, they were loud and angry, crashing like giants. I will tell you about them every day if you like." He described the color of the water at dawn. He wrote about the fishing boats that sometimes passed by. He told Leo about the family of seals that lived on the far rocks. He filled the page with the simple details of his life, things he never thought were interesting. To him, they were just ordinary things. But maybe, to a boy in a city, they were magic. He put the letter in an envelope, addressed it simply to Leo, who misses the sea, and put it in his pocket. The next day, he would take his boat to the mainland to post it. It was a risk. What if the letter came back? What if Leo never wrote again? But Henry had to try. A week later, the postal boat came. It brought supplies, and one small envelope. For Henry. His hands shook. He opened it. It was from Leo. The boy wrote about his life in the big city. He lived in an apartment building. He could hear traffic, not waves. He drew a picture at the bottom of the letter, a tall lighthouse, with a stick figure man waving. Henry smiled. A real, wide smile. It had been years. So began their friendship. Every week, letters traveled between the rocky cliff and the busy city. Henry described the changing seasons. The wild winter storms. The first spring flowers that grew in the cracks of the rocks. Leo told Henry about school, about his love for drawing, about his wish to see a real lighthouse. Henry sent small things. A perfect white feather from a gull. A smooth, striped stone. A drawing of the lighthouse light cutting through the fog. Henry was no longer just a keeper of a light. He was a storyteller. He was a friend. The lighthouse felt different. It felt like a place connected to the world, not separate from it. He read Leo's letters by the fire, and the silence was no longer empty. It was filled with the thoughts of his friend. One day, a letter arrived that was different. Leo's writing was excited. "Dear Henry," it said, "my class is taking a trip to the coast. My teacher says we can visit a lighthouse. Could it be yours? I will be there on the 15th. Henry's breath caught. The 15th. That was tomorrow. The boy was coming here. Suddenly, Henry felt nervous. What if he was not what Leo imagined? What if the boy was disappointed? He cleaned the lighthouse from top to bottom. He baked simple biscuits. He picked some of the tough little wildflowers that grew near the door. He waited. The afternoon sun was warm when he saw a small boat coming from the mainland. A group of children spilled out onto the small dock, laughing and pointing. And then, Henry saw him. A small boy with dark hair, holding a notebook. Their eyes met across the distance. Leo smiled, a shy, hopeful smile. Henry waved. Leo ran ahead of the group, up the winding path. He stopped in front of Henry, looking up at the tall tower, then at the man. "You're Henry," he said. It wasn't a question. "And you are Leo," Henry said, his voice rough with emotion. Leo held out his notebook. It was filled with drawings. Drawings of the sea, based on Henry's letters. Drawings of the lighthouse. Drawings of a kind-faced man with a beard, looking at the waves. "I drew what I saw from your words," Leo said. Henry felt a warmth in his chest. He showed Leo everything. The great light. The winding stairs. The view from the top. The boy's eyes were wide with wonder. They sat on the rocks, eating biscuits, and for the first time, Henry talked instead of writing. He told stories of old shipwrecks and brave sailors. Leo listened, completely captivated. When the boat whistle blew, calling the children back, Leo looked sad. "I have to go," he said. "It's all right," Henry said, putting a hand on his shoulder. "The waves will still be here. And so will I." Leo hugged him quickly, a brief, tight hug. Then he ran to join his friends, turning to wave one last time. Henry stood on his cliff and watched the boat until it became a small dot on the horizon. The wind sang its usual song, but Henry heard a new note in it now. A note of connection. He was not just a lighthouse keeper. He was Henry, the friend of Leo. He had sent his light out across the water, in words, and it had been answered. He walked back inside, to his next chore, to his next letter waiting to be written. He was no longer lonely. He was part of a story, and his heart, like the lighthouse, was full of light.